I'm not the kind of man who scares easy. I've seen my share of strange things in nearly 3 decades as a forest ranger, but I've kept one story to myself until now. They say when you retire, your ghosts finally catch up with you. That's what it feels like. I'm too old to care what people think anymore. I just want this off my chest before I go. Elkwood Ridge isn't on many maps. It's not a place hikers stumble into by accident. Dense, remote, untouched by fire or man for over a century. Locals used to tell stories, half jokes, half warnings, about a thing they called the Howler. I used to laugh too. That was before the fall of '96 when we lost a man up there. When I saw something I still can't explain. What I heard that night, it never left me. It started with a missing person report on October 18th, 1996. A 23-year-old named Ethan Granger had set out to hike Elkwood Ridge solo. A seasoned backpacker by all accounts, but still, no one went into Elkwood alone. Not unless they were trying to prove something. He left a voicemail for his sister saying he'd be back in 3 days. When he didn't return, she called it in. That's how I found myself heading into the ridge with a 4-person search team that Friday morning. The other rangers were all experienced: Ben, Torres, Mel, people I trusted. We'd done plenty of search and rescue operations together, but none of us liked this one. The air was off, heavy in a way that made it hard to breathe. I remember thinking how quiet the trees were. No wind, no bird song, just the sound of our boots and the occasional crackle of dead leaves. We followed the trail Ethan was believed to have taken, found his car parked neatly at the old logging road gate, locked. No signs of distress, just the quiet ticking of a cooling engine, like it had been waiting a long time. By midday, we'd moved deep into the ridge. The deeper we went, the stranger it felt. The underbrush grew thicker, but not wild, almost curated. Paths that should have been blocked were clear. Trees curved subtly inward like a cathedral built by nature for something old and watching. We found Ethan's first camp by a creek bed. His gear was still there, sleeping bag unfurled, cold coffee in a tin cup, a paperback lying open on a flat stone. It looked like he'd just stepped away, but there were no footprints past the creek. Just silence. We radioed in the find, flagged the site, and moved on. We planned to make camp an hour before dusk, but the sun dipped too fast. Shadows poured in like liquid. Before we knew it, the ridge was swallowing light faster than the clock could measure. Torres muttered something about how it felt like we were being herded. That night, we set up camp just off the trail near a glade. I remember looking up and realizing I couldn't see the stars. The fog had started to roll in thick and low, clinging to the trees like wet cotton. Temperature dropped 10 degrees in an hour. No wind, no sound. Ben broke the silence with a joke, trying to lift the mood. We laughed, but it felt thin, strained. That's when we heard it. A howl. Not a coyote. Not a wolf. Something deeper, longer, like a horn being blown through an endless throat. It echoed off the ridge, bending and breaking in ways that made no sense. We froze. Torres asked what direction it came from. I didn't answer because I honestly couldn't tell. It came from everywhere. Sleep didn't come easy. The ground was cold, the air colder. I lay inside my tent, eyes wide open, watching the thin walls ripple as if breathing. Fog never lifted. It clung to the trees, to our clothes, to the edges of our minds. Around 2 a.m., I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, one after the other. Not animal movement. This was different. Heavier. Human, maybe. But wrong. I sat up without unzipping my tent. Just listened. Steps stopped outside the perimeter. Then silence. I waited, holding my breath, willing my heartbeat to quiet down. Then the footsteps started again. Only this time, circling us. I wanted to call out, but something inside told me not to. Like a voice in my gut whispering, "Don't let it know you're awake." The others didn't stir. Or maybe they did and just stayed quiet, same as me. Sound circled for what felt like hours before fading into the trees. At first light, I unzipped my tent and stepped out. No prints in the dirt. No sign that anything had moved. But the fire had gone cold, even though we banked it carefully. Mel came out of her tent, pale and silent. She didn't say what she heard, but I knew it was the same. We packed quickly. Everyone had the same unspoken urgency. We needed to move. Now. Back on the trail, the GPS glitched. Torres said his compass kept spinning. My radio hissed, then went dead. Ben cracked another joke, but his voice shook this time. No one laughed. Then we found the second camp. Another one of Ethan's. Further in than he should have gone in a single day. No map showed this route, but there it was. His tarp tied between two trees, his journal tucked under a rock. I picked it up with gloved hands. The last few entries were strange. The woods feel like they're watching. Shapes in the fog. Always just past the corner of my eye. I heard my name whispered last night. Not an echo. Something else. I shouldn't have come here. But I think it called me. That was the last entry. Just a smear of graphite like the pencil slipped. Then nothing. Mel folded the journal shut and handed it back. No one spoke. There was nothing to say. From that point on, the trees grew denser. Too dense. The sun barely filtered through. Time blurred. Felt like we walked for hours, yet went nowhere. Like the forest had closed behind us and never opened again. At some point I realized we were being followed. You don't see it, you feel it, like pressure at the back of your skull, a weight in the lungs, dragging in your bones. Sometimes I swore I heard something breathing. Close. We crested a ridge by late afternoon, hoping to get a vantage point. Instead, we found a hollow. Not a clearing, a true hollow. An unnatural dip in the land, like a crater, nestled in the trees. Nothing grew inside. No grass, no moss, just dirt, packed flat and cold to the touch. No birds flew overhead, no insects buzzed. It was as if nature itself had decided this place didn't belong. Torres stood at the edge and muttered something under his breath. I don't think he meant to speak it aloud. I don't even think he knew what he said. Just words that came out in a rhythm too old to be remembered. Mel dropped her pack and turned a slow circle. It's wrong, she said, finally. This whole place is wrong. And it was. There were markings in the dirt, circles, spirals, footprints, but not ours. Barefoot, human-shaped, but longer, more narrow. The toes too long, the heel too shallow. Ben knelt beside one. Looks like someone's been dancing, he said. But there was no humor left in him. We didn't camp there. Not a chance. We moved a half mile downwind, set up near a stream. None of us drank from it. Water ran clear, but there was a smell in the air. Metallic, like rust and wet iron. That night, the fog came back thicker. I lay awake again, listening. This time, I heard breathing. Not mine. Not the wind. Something else. Shallow, wet, and close. Then, dragging. A soft pull through the leaves, like something being moved or dragging itself. I didn't get out of my tent. I couldn't. I was paralyzed. Not with fear exactly, but with stillness, like I'd been rooted into the earth. Something told me to stay small, like prey. The sound came closer, then stopped. Right outside. And then something touched the tent. Just one press of weight. A hand, maybe. A face. The fabric dimpled inward. I could smell it. Earthy and foul, like mold and rot. The breath came through, humid and sour. They stood there for minutes. Maybe more. Then it left. I don't remember falling asleep, but I woke at dawn soaked in sweat. The others looked the same. Pale, sunken, silent. No one mentioned the night, but Ben had packed already, and his hands were shaking. We lost Torres the next day. It happened fast, and it didn't make sense. One moment he was with us, walking single file along a narrow ridge path right behind Ben. I was in the back, watching our six. We weren't talking, just walking in that eerie silence like we were underwater. Then Ben turned a bend, and Torres never followed. We waited, called his name, nothing. We backtracked, thinking he might have stopped to tie his boot or take a photo. But the path was straight, No splits, no drop-offs, nowhere to go. He was just gone. No sound, no scream, no broken branches or scuffed leaves. Gone. Mel wanted to mark the spot, said we needed to remember it. Ben just stared at the trees. They took him, he said. We didn't ask who they were. We didn't need to. It felt like we were being punished for staying. Like the woods were testing us, seeing how far we'd go. The fog came earlier that night, thick, choking. I didn't sleep. I don't think Mel did either. Sometime after midnight, I heard whispering. Not outside, inside my own tent, inside my own head. Words I didn't understand, rhythmic, low, repeating. My skin went cold. I reached for the flashlight, but when I turned it on, the battery was dead. So was the backup. Then I saw a shadow stretch across the tent wall. Tall. Too tall. With arms that hung low, dragging. A neck too long, bending as it moved like it was sniffing. And it paused right over me. I stopped breathing. The air in the tent turned ice cold. Frost formed at the edges of the nylon. Then the shadow retreated, slowly, and vanished. In the morning, the frost was gone. My breath fogged in the air. We didn't speak of it. We just kept moving. But something had changed. Mel didn't sketch in her notebook anymore. Ben stopped taking notes. I stopped checking the GPS. We weren't trying to finish the trail anymore. We were just trying to get out. The forest thinned on the 5th day. We thought, hoped, it meant we were close to the edge. But what we found wasn't an exit. It was a clearing. A wide, perfect circle. No undergrowth. Just dead, gray grass underfoot and a massive tree in the center. Black, leafless, ancient. It didn't match any species we knew. The bark was too smooth, almost shiny. The limbs were bare, but something hung from them. Scraps of fabric, bone, feathers, totems, warnings. We should have turned around. Instead, Ben walked into the center. He moved like he was being pulled, like the air itself had caught him by the spine. Ben, Mel called, quiet but sharp. Don't. He didn't look back. He stopped beneath the tree, looked up, and then he screamed. It wasn't a normal scream. It tore from his chest, raw and guttural, like something ancient had reached into him and ripped loose a sound he didn't know he had. We ran to him, but he dropped before we reached him. Unconscious, or worse. His eyes were open, glazed, mouth slack, breathing shallow. And etched into the dirt around him were symbols. Spirals, hands, faces. They hadn't been there moments before. Mel knelt and reached for him, but stopped. "Don't touch him," I said. She didn't ask why. We waited, sat by his body, listening to the forest breathe. For the first time, I realized the woods weren't silent. Not really. They whispered. Not words, just impressions, feelings, guilt, grief, hunger. I felt it reach inside me. "What do you make?" it seemed to ask. "What do you give?" Ben sat up without warning, eyes still glazed. "They showed me," he whispered. "Showed you what?" He turned his head slowly, mechanically. "What we really are." Then he stood and walked out of the clearing without another word. We followed, not because we trusted him, but because we had no idea where else to go. We followed Ben for hours. He didn't stop to eat, drink, or speak. Just kept walking through the underbrush like he knew exactly where to go. Like the forest had remapped itself inside his skull. Fog came early again, curling between trees like smoke. The sky dimmed. And then, without warning, we hit a road. An actual gravel road. It cut through the trees like a scar, old, cracked, but real. Ben stopped at the edge. "This is where I leave," he said, flat, voice like wind through a dead tree. We looked around. No markers. No signs, no sounds. Mel asked him where he was going. He turned to her slowly, and for a second, I didn't think it was Ben anymore. "There's more to see," he said. "They're not done showing me." He turned and stepped back into the woods. We never saw him again. Mel and I followed the road for what felt like hours. Eventually we found a park ranger station. Locked, dark, but with a working phone. When rescue crews went in to search, they found no trace of Torres. No sign of Ben. The trail we took didn't exist on any map. The area we described had been sealed for decades due to unstable terrain. They checked the GPS logs for my pack. It recorded only the first few hours of our hike, then static. I don't think we were supposed to come back. Mel stopped painting after that. Last I heard, she moved to Arizona, somewhere with desert and no trees. Me, I tried to forget. Threw away my gear, deleted the photos, burned the journal. But I still hear it sometimes. Late at night, when the wind slips through the cracks in the walls and I'm half asleep, I hear them. Whispers, that same rhythm, asking what I've made, what I've given. And the truth is, I never came back. Not really. Some part of me is still out there, listening, watching, waiting to be called home. If you made it to the end, thank you. I hope you felt the cold fingers of the unknown brushing against your spine, just like I did when I wrote this. If you enjoy stories that blur the line between truth and nightmare, hit that subscribe button for more content on legends and lullabies. More eerie encounters are coming soon, and if you've ever seen something you couldn't explain, drop it in the comments. I want to hear your story. Until next time, stay curious, and maybe stay out of the woods.